번째 세션입니다. 제3세션인데요. 문명의 시스템 진화를 위한 지구 시민의 노력이라는
이렇게 소개에 대해서 대단히 영광입니다. 닥터 데이비드 코튼 선생님은 원래 스탠퍼드에서 MBA를 하셨고, 제가 지금 말씀을 나누니까 조직이론을 하셨다고 합니다. 그래서 아주 사회과학자답게 오늘 원배로 나오고 있습니다만 신자유주의 흐름이라든지 또 조직이라든지 이런 것과 생태학적인 모습이 그리고 생태학적인 여러 가지 과정을 같이 설명해 주시는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 아주 많은 책들을 내셨고요. 또 하버드에서도 진행하시고 그랬는데 아마 여러분 웹에 들어가보시면 자세한 내용을 보실 수가 있을 겁니다. The Great Turning, The Post-Corporate World. 아주 다양한 책들을 올렸습니다. 그 다음에 또 한 분의 귀한 손님은 원태준 런던대학 교수님이십니다. 원 교수님은 아주 활동을 굉장히 활발히 하셔가지고요. 중국 정부로부터 많은 상을 또 받으시고 교육자상, 석학상 이런 상을 수상하시고 오늘 사우스 커퍼레이티브, 그러니까 남과 남의 어떤 협동 이런 것들을 주로 강조하시면서 최근에 중국의 어떤 농촌 사회의 자율적이고 환경 생태적인 그런 정책 이런 것들로 아주 열심히 또 많은 저서와 정책을 제안하고 계십니다. 저에게 주어진 시간이 그렇게 길지 않아서요. 한 선생님당 20분에서 25분 정도 이렇게 연설을 하시고 플로어에서 간단하게 한두 분의 질문을 받는 것으로 제 섹션을 마무리 짓겠습니다.
I want you to know how excited I am to be here by the overall conversation and by what you are in the process of doing, of trying to bring together the East Asian countries behind the greatest agenda that humanity has ever faced, our need to fundamentally choose our future. And I think it makes infinite sense, given the Asian focus on community over individual, that the future leadership of the world is emerging here in East Asia. It's a whole new kind of leadership. It's not the role of domination, leading by domination, but leading by demonstration, example. And what I've heard during the past few days here in South Korea is the most well-defined, clearest example I have heard in recent time of a really grounded, thoughtful conversation about that future. And I'm tempted to note that what we are undertaking in these discussions is, first of all, impossible to achieve. Too big and too late. The other side of it is that our success is imperative, and we must devote ourselves totally to it. So, thank you for what you're doing. The challenge that we are here to undertake is framed by these opening words to the Earth's Charter. We stand at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future. Humanity has arrived at a defining choice point. It is now within our human means to achieve the long-denied human dream of a world of peace, beauty, creativity, material sufficiency, and spiritual abundance for all, and to do it in a way that is in balance with a living earth and its regenerative capacities. But it presents a profound challenge of fundamental changes in our culture, basic conceptual frames, in our institutions by which we organize ourselves and in the way we construct, design our infrastructure, particularly in terms of our cities. Now, I wanted to start by mentioning 5 dominant global trends that take humanity not only in the wrong direction, but that put us on course to potential self-extinction, plus the potential destruction of Earth's capacity to support life. The first trend is growth in consumption beyond Earth's ability to sustain. The potentially fatal consequences include climate disruption, loss of fertile soil, diminishing supplies of clean fresh water, disappearing forests, and collapsing fisheries. And we could spend the rest of the week talking about the details of those. The big picture is the Global Footprint Network calculates that we humans now consume at a rate 1.7 times what Earth can sustain. Everything over 1 is basically destroying Earth's capacity to support life of any kind. And yet we continue to maintain our aggregate growth and consumption without any regard for who it really benefits as our defining common goal. The second devastating trend is growth in extreme inequality. We tolerate a growing global wealth gap that reduces ever more people to lives of desperation, as a few engaged in profligate consumption far beyond any needs. The defining statistic, in my view, is the recent statistic that the combined financial wealth now of the 6 richest people in the world, 6 individuals, now exceeds the total financial wealth of 3.8 billion people, the poorest half of humanity. The third trend is growing reliance on life-destructive technologies. Our nuclear, carbon energy, genetic modification, and artificial intelligence technologies pose increasing threat to Earth. And yet we continue to increase the numbers and potential impact of these technologies. The fourth trend is growing corporate control of government and public policy. We create a growing concentration of monopoly power in purely profit-maximizing transnational corporations, basically dedicated to growing the financial assets of those richest billionaires. This also then increases their ability to buy political power to shape our policies in their own favor. This leads to the fifth trend, which is a growing loss of institutional legitimacy, and is being expressed in terms of the rise of demagogues in various parts of the world. And you've probably noticed what's happening in the United States. And overall, part of my education and awareness building in the process of understanding humanity's future is to recognize the extent to which the United States has been a driver of all of these now devastating trends. The world is in desperate need of new leadership. And it's exciting to see South Korea. And I don't know, you may know that you are the country that Bloomberg Innovation Index ranks as the most innovative country in the world. So to have South Korea arising to this human challenge of the transition to an ecological civilization is very exciting. Now, to get our human future right, we must first be clear on why we are getting our present so terribly wrong. Basically, we have made a number of terribly bad cultural, institutional, and infrastructure choices. As a now global species, we chose money as our defining common value. We use it as our measure of well-being. We choose competition for power and resources as our dominant mode of relating. We choose private purpose, profit-seeking transnational corporations as our defining institutions. And then we design our cities for cars rather than for people as our primary places of residence. Now, part of understanding what it means to be human is to recognize that we are creatures of narrative, of stories. And we have currently chosen a deeply flawed narrative. This is an interesting part of our characteristic, that the earliest humans developed a capacity for symbolic thought and symbolic communication. You think, as we communicate here, we speak in language and words that reflect concepts that are purely mental constructions. As far as we know, we are the only animal on Earth that has this capability. Now, with time, we created increasingly sophisticated narratives to communicate and share our understanding with one another. Shared beliefs became the basis of our ability to self-organize in ever-increasing numbers as we grew our tribes and our societies. Now, again, understanding ourselves individually when we come into this world, with rare exception, we simply accept the narrative of the culture into which we are born. That describes our picture of reality. Now, this can be a powerful asset if we get our narrative right, because it allows us to develop coherent societies of virtually unlimited size. It also, however, leaves us susceptible to manipulation by those who shape a society's narrative to serve their own, sometimes very exclusive, personal ends. And our current human narrative, our current human arrogance, capacity for self-destruction, and vulnerability to manipulation, all traced to narratives crafted to advance the agendas of imperial rulers seeking to legitimate the exploitation of people and planet over the past 5,000 years. So this has quite a long history. Now, we once knew our rulers as kings and emperors. We now know them as corporate CEOs and Wall Street bankers. Our current human misadventure traces to the deceptions of a relentlessly promoted narrative, which is actually an ideology called neoliberalism. That ideology would have us believe that money is wealth. Would have us believe that those who make money are creating wealth, and that there is no community, there's only individuals. The community interest is simply an aggregation of individual interests. The same narrative would have us believe that transnational corporations completely disconnected from any responsibility for community are the proper institutions to guide our way to a future better off for everyone. Now, under the influence of this fatally flawed ideology, our political systems facilitate a continuing transfer of power from governments that we recognize as having an obligation to the community to transnational corporations that fiercely defend their assertion that they have no responsibility beyond maximizing financial returns to the shareholders. So a fundamental requirement of the transition to an ecological civilization is to discredit the neoliberal ideology by pointing out such obvious truths as one, money is just a number. Money is just a number. It has no intrinsic value. But it's a number that we use to define our transactions with one another. And we've created a society which is an individual. You're absolutely dependent on it because you cannot have access to food, water, a place to live, or anything else without it. But as a society, if you're organizing around maximizing the number of these numbers, you're producing absolutely nothing of real value. That's key to understanding the problem. Now, the other piece of this is to bring forward a new story, which is really an old story. This is part of what fascinates me. The true story lives in our heart. And so far, every time I mention this, everybody in the audience recognizes the truth of the statement. We humans are living beings, born of and nurtured by a living earth. And does anybody find that a shocking statement? Anybody find it a new statement that you were totally unaware of? It's absolutely obvious and foundational, and yet it is contrary to everything that we are taught and most of what we hear. Now, the other piece of this is that this is a general statement about life. From what we know, living beings only survive and thrive in community. None of us can exist alone. We can only exist as a part of this larger community of life. So the health of that larger community is essential. Now, this is why I love this term, ecological civilization. It seems such a fitting meaning for the future we must create. The ecological puts the focus on the capacity of living organisms to self-organize through community to create the conditions essential for life's existence. Civilization evokes the depth of the cultural and institutional transformation required to create together a future in which human relationships with one another and nature are truly civil. This is one of the insights that came to me as I was actually preparing this. Sometimes we talk about industrial civilization. Some of my own writing I talk about imperial civilization. But if you really look a little bit deeper, none of these so-called civilizations were really civil. They were all organized around a privileged few exploiting the many for their personal advantage. That's not civil, and it's hardly a civilization. So that puts us in a position of recognizing that we're here not just to create an ecological civilization, but to move humanity forward on the steps to becoming civilized. I kind of enjoy that. Now, one of the most significant insights on my part in terms of coming to understand the nature and complexity of life was when a Chinese woman, microbiologist, pointed out to me the nature of our body. Again, this you think about it, it's absolutely obvious, and yet it's usually totally outside our awareness. Each of our bodies is comprised of tens of trillions of individual living cells. These living cells are constantly engaged in a constant exchange of energy, nutrients, water, and information, self-organizing as cells live and die, as we get differing inputs of water, food, outside temperature, and all of this, constantly organizing to maintain this vessel of our consciousness, an instrument of our individual agency. This all goes on constantly, totally outside of our awareness. And when pointed out, it's obvious it's true. And yet again, it has no place in our basic education or our thinking about what it means to be human and our relationship to Earth. Now, if you take this to another level, you think about Earth itself. It is doing the same thing on a truly grand scale with all the interplay of all the different organisms, both microorganisms and multi-celled organisms and so forth. There's countless single and multi-celled organisms, or joined again in a constant exchange of energy, nutrients, water, and information to regenerate soils, aquifers, forests, fissures, streams, and rivers, to sequester excess carbons, toxins, and other wastes, capture solar energy, purify air, stabilize weather temperatures, all to create the conditions essential to our existence and the existence of all of life in ways that, again, so far as we know, of all the many planets that we have discovered, this is the only one that we have reason to believe has these conditions on the surface. Wow. And so we devote our human intelligence and creativity to finding more and more ways to destroy the capacity of our planet to maintain these conditions essential to our being. This is an act of monumental, suicidal stupidity. But this is what we're here to wake up from and begin to think, what would a new civilization that is grounded in this deep understanding of life would look like. Now, one of the other things that's very interesting as we understand how life organizes is to recognize that nature creates this extraordinary miracle with no known natural equivalents of the human institutions of money, markets, corporations, and government. We will likely, as humans, continue to use these institutions to guide our individual exchanges with one another on Earth, but we must recognize that they are only tools. As we currently structure these institutions, they centralize decision-making in ways that give the richest and most powerful among us the ability to control our means of living, to exploit that control for their own benefit at our expense. To achieve the future that we seek, these institutions must be restructured in fundamental ways to support the centralized decision-making required to secure material sufficiency and spiritual abundance for all people. And they must do it in ways that heal and restore Earth's generative capacity. Now here's another piece of the puzzle that we humans, relating to our human evolution to live in community. If you think back through our deep human history, for roughly 99% of the time since the first humans walked the earth, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherer tribes with direct connections with one another in nature. Kind of imagine what this was like. Together, tribal members foraged for nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables. Together, they stalked, killed, and dressed their game. Together, they prepared their food around communal fires and communal kitchens. Relationships with one another and nature were absolutely direct. They were lifelong, and they were grounded in intimate knowledge of one another and of the plants and animals of the place where they lived. Now, the children. The children in these communities experienced constant support, engagement, and enduring relationships with other family members. Actually, the members of an ever-present multi-generational tribal family. The maturing child also led an active outdoor life that was rarely separated from parents and never separated from nature. Now think about that in contrast with how we live now. This experience not only supported the child's immediate well-being, it also built a sense of responsibility for the well-being of the whole and for generations yet to come. So now, current statistics and global trends suggest that ever more of the world's people are living alone in single-person households. Since the 1960s, the percentage of households with only one person has more than doubled in Australia, in Canada, in the United States, in China, in Japan, and South Korea. So what of our children? 31% of children in the United States now live in a single-parent household. Often the single parent is a mother struggling to make ends meet with one or more low-wage jobs, often with long commutes, little security, and very little opportunity to socialize even with fellow workers or with their own communities, their neighbors. The child has no contact with a parent or other relative during most of its waking hours, and little or no contact with nature. Think about that, how that shapes the child's development. These conditions of isolation and lack of community support have devastating mental health consequences. Suicides have increased in the United States by 25% since the year 2000. And experts predict that 50% of the current U.S. population will experience a mental health disorder at some time in their lives. Much of what we have celebrated as progress over the past century involves inserting money, cars, corporations, and government as intermediaries in our relationships with one another in nature. We now face the imperative to restore the direct relationships we have so unwisely disrupted. So that needs to be very foundational in our thinking about how we rethink our cities, the relationship of cities to rural areas, and so forth. Our goal must be a future in which most every person lives in a city, town, or village devoted to restoring our essential needs, meeting our essential needs, restoring our connections with nature and one another, and minimizing our collective material burdens on Earth. This means suburban sprawl, which increases automobile dependence, separates households, and disrupts ecological integrity, have no place in an ecological civilization. And I would suggest cars have no place in an ecological civilization city. The car-free cities of an ecological civilization will feature multi-generational, multi-family living units that function as vibrant communities, eco-communities, sharing facilities, sharing tools, resources, and labor, and looking out for one another and their children, as well as their elders, as tribal communities once did, and some still do. We need to design urban infrastructure to make it easy and attractive for people to meet the needs for services, shopping, education, spiritual practice, work, recreation, all within walking or biking distance from where they live. These cities will feature an abundance of attractive meeting places for people to mix and mingle to create or renew relationships. Attractive and distinctive neighborhoods will be connected by high-speed elevated or underground rail. Everyone will be connected by high-speed internet. Now, with the removal of suburbs, boundaries between urban and rural areas will be clearly delineated in ways that facilitate urban-rural linkages and sharing. City governments and rural jurisdictions will work together to improve the lives of both rural and urban peoples in ways that meet the food, water, energy, and material needs of both, while restoring and enhancing the natural regeneration of air, water, and fertile soils, eliminate the use of artificial fertilizers and insecticides, and recycle, decompose, and reuse their waste. We will measure progress not by growth in GDP, which is basically an indicator of the monetization and disintegration of relationships. Rather, we will measure progress by indicators of real health and real well-being. I happen to personally be a great fan of the Bhutan happiness indicators. It's one of the best sets of indicators we have. We'll ask the question, are people living long, healthy, and fulfilling lives? Are children getting proper care and education? Is nature flourishing? If these indicators are all improving, why should we care whether the number we call GDP is going up, down, sideways, or simply disappears? At a global level, instead of moving money, people, and goods around the world to maximize the profits of transnational corporations, we will favor locally self-reliant bioregional economies that bring people together to maximize health and well-being in the place where they live. And all this must be accomplished in ways that minimize class divisions, maximize equality, maintain human connections with nature, and honor the city's interdependent relationships with the surrounding rural areas and peoples on much of its own well-being depends. This will all require major changes in law, technology, and infrastructure. If we truly believe that private property is beneficial to society and essential to democracy, then maybe everybody should have some. It may be cooperative ownership, but ownership rooted and equally distributed among people. The need for local participatory ownership aligns with the need to redistribute wealth, to eliminate financial speculation, to break up monopolistic corporations, and ensure that all businesses are subordinate and accountable to the communities in which they do business. This is most readily achieved through small local-owned businesses. But if you actually read Adam Smith carefully, you will know that his favorite concept of a market economy was the farmer's market, where the farmers and the customers get together in their stalls and they exchange goods and services. Wow, that's the real market. Modern societies have need for larger businesses than Adam Smith perhaps perceived. But ownership should still be local, stable, and equitable. Concentrated absentee ownership is best eliminated in favor of local cooperative worker, consumer, and community ownership. So in a spirit of cooperation, bioregions and an ecological civilization will strive to meet their own needs with their own resources using their own labor. They will freely share ideas, technology, and culture, and they will engage in fair and balanced trade with their neighbors for that which they cannot reasonably produce for themselves. These are all concepts I actually learned from John Cobb in his book of Urban Daily for the Common Good, one of the breakthrough books in economics. And most of all, the community will keep their banking, their finance, and their ownership local. On a related note, we must eliminate war. I don't know if you ever thought about this, but civilized people do not engage in war. It's also very environmentally destructive. Not a good idea. Humanity has reached a defining choice point. We can hold to our present course and perish in the pursuit of money so the few can enjoy temporary excess. Or we can embrace the vision of an ecological civilization and join in common cause to achieve the cultural, institutional, and infrastructure transformation required for all humans to prosper in the pursuit of life. The time has come to unite as families, communities, and nations in our common identity as members of Earth's community of life, join in a shared commitment to create a world of peace, beauty, creativity, material sufficiency, and spiritual abundance for all. So I thank you for your commitment and for this opportunity to share my thoughts.
Dear friends, inside Korean also pay attention to nowadays the crisis. Let me just brief when we talked with Debbie 2 days ago under the bill. We talked about 20 years ago what happened in Korea. What is East Asian financial system? And then the local economy, especially the financial system here in Korea, has not only here, but also other East Asian industrialized countries. Just 20 years ago, I think here that young people may not have a memory, but old people, middle age, will all know what happened here. And but you may not know what happened in China. The same thing. The bad loan in China in the big banks, state-run bank, more than 1/3. So must be problematic. And how China prevents this big country from the crisis? Here, the bank system comes, but in China, they are very clear to understand what is the situation. And then in the policy circle, so at that time I'm one of the member of the policy circle. I'm not professor at that time, 20 years ago. And so we are very clear to indicate this crisis is the same as 1929, 1933 in Western countries. That is overproduction, because overseas demand not decreased. And then there's a big capacity surplus. We cannot export. So only one thing that I think at that time we take as a kind of reference, that is a Roosevelt New Deal in 1930s. So since 1997 to 1998, China used as a Communist Party and socialist country, but we did take the measures from the United States. I'll give you another verse. That's 1940, after the Second World War, when Roosevelt died, and then American new politician renamed Roosevelt New Deal as a Roosevelt Communism. You remember that? That is 1940s, forced by the Cold War ideology. So it means that if 1920s we learned from Russia, from Soviet Union, that is communism. So in 1990, 70 years past, we learned the American communism, raised up by President Roosevelt. But we do need to learn. And then about that, when we're facing the challenge of the crisis, China turned this big industrial capacity into rebalance and adjustment as a national strategy in this big country. So we started the West China development. Large number of the financial bonds, budget bonds, more than 2 trillion invested into West China for infrastructure construction. It's highway and the port or airport and whatever. It's large money turned to big industrial capacity into the West China development. And then turned to Northeast China regeneration, because it's old industrial base, Suez style, Russian style. So we need to reset up. So that is the total amount of this regional gap rebalance strategy. We invest 6 trillion Chinese yuan, it's almost 1 trillion American dollars. And then China survived. That is 20 years ago. When I gave this example to David Curtin, he said he never heard about that. I think American is a kind of worldwide citizen. You must know everything. But you don't know what happened in China. That is the problem. So, can you show my And then, after that, I said China started to change, to transit from westernized industrialization into the so-called that is at that time it's not exactly ecological civilization, but starting to turn originally we have the policy around the capital, because China at that time in 1980s, 1990s is very short of the capital supply. But late 1990s, when you have the new problem, the capital is not short, the capital is oversupply. It's excess. So you need to change your strategy. Focus on the human beings, the nature beings, not focus on the capital. So we changed since the late 1990s. And then step by step, we set up the new strategy as a new direction, that is ecological civilization. Understand me? It's caused by the crisis. Nowadays we have a new crisis now. These days, you may know that in the whole world, the stock markets all decreased. Just drop off. Not only China, but also Hong Kong and New York and Singapore and anywhere. I don't know the situation in South Korea. But it's a worldwide phenomenon. Because what? Because bubbleization. Because financial bubble, just as Derek just mentioned. In the United States, 87% of GDP come from the so-called the tertiary sector, from the service, from bubble, from financial sector. And then the more you enlarge your bubble, the more the dangers, not only to United States, to American. Just now, Eric Curtin mentioned that how they root out of the American society. And another thing that is this big crisis will turn out their cost to the whole world. That is danger for all of us. That is also why I mentioned you the 20 years ago what happened here in South Korea. So one after another, the crisis come to us. So the late 1990s, China survived. And because of 1997, Hong Kong reunified by China, by mainland, so Hong Kong also survived. And then there's the biggest population country and also the biggest industrialized country in the world, but they survived. And then the crisis kicked back to the United States. So 2001, American have the crisis. You know that it's a high-tech bubble break. And then large amount of this foreign capital from the United States, from other Western countries, flow to China. So FDI, foreign direct investment in China, to be the top one in the world. That is 2002, 2003. And then China gained high growth. It's not because of whatever ism, capitalism, communism, socialism, whatever isms is all created by Western philosophy, by Cold War, not by our Oriental people. You know what is communism? You know what is socialism? All of these meanings, these concepts, it's not from you, not from our Chinese, Korean, no. So we may not know what is very clear to know what is the meaning of that. If you do want to know, okay, let's go back to 3,000 years ago. Ask Lao Tzu, ask Confucius, and then they may tell you what is a commonwealth, what is common share, what is common interest. That is communism. They have 1,000 years. So if you ask them about what is communism, maybe our 3,000 years is intellectual. They may give you explanation. Now, you ask these politicians here or in China, what is that isms? They may give you a very confused answer. What is that? So let's just go back to the reality, to the practical policy, to the real change. That's real change. So that's one. Real change is since 1970s. Overproduction happened in Western countries, industrialized countries again, because when the Second World War passed, and then there's an industrial regeneration in these countries, including Japan. And then 1970s, re-happened overproduction. And then they transfer out the low-tech industries, labor-intensive industries to other countries. And so South Korea, Chinese Taiwan, and Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, these countries, they take these low-tech industries. That is from the 1970s. And then 20 years later, these countries all have the similar problem as overproduction, and then turn to the financial crisis. But in the early 1990s, because of the Soviet Union collapse, Cold War ended, new Cold War emerged. And then, it's very interesting. And America released the secret control. High tech means the internet and computers, whatever, all can be commercialized. And then from just 3 years later, when American military departments released control of this high tech, and then it's a so-called high tech industries. increased since the year 1994. So Bill Gates, as a young guy, okay, he took this so-called the marginal interest, grew up. That's a big chance for him and also for other high-tech companies. So they all set up in 1994. And then they absorb large amount of these foreign capital flow in United States. And then aroused these industrialized areas financial crisis. That is 1997. You need to know the basic regulation. And then you know that which one cannot deal with such kind of crisis. So I told you that China deal with the crisis by Roosevelt deal. But we learned from Roosevelt so-called American communism. And then we changed this big surplus, industrial capacity surplus into the inland construction. And then from the west to northeast, and then from 2003, we have a new strategy that is the name of the Middle China Rising. Also big investments. So to turn from the exports to inland construction. That is new century China can gain the high growth. Not like this for media talk about a lot of ideological stories. Not that. Nowadays, okay, we change our investment into countryside. That is let's go back to our discussion in your home. Dr. John Cole. We have a very deep discussion. I said that how China invests into countryside, how this China only is a big indigenous country still have the countryside. Large number of the population live in the countryside. So these natural resources can be alive. If there's no people, you just move people out, and then you have a reserve area that is just similar as that. Even they have some functions, but even no people means no the commonwealth, no the people beings there means a nature being is just a single independence there. It's meaningless. So that's I cited one people being with natural resources together means that human being is one part of nature being, and then you can regain the ecological civilization based on the rural reconstruction, rural revitalization, or rural regeneration. So my team, we have a nationwide team and also international team. We are working for rural reconstruction, but it's indeed traditional cultural regeneration for thousands of years, for our human beings. That is what we did. So nowadays, when we talk about reunification of Korea, we said, okay, it's a big change because from 1970s, from 1970s we have almost 4 decades past, or 3 decades, or even half century past. We need a new era, or need industrialization in East Asian areas. We became biggest, the producer area. And they also became the biggest dollar lake. So we said it's a West Pacific dollar lake, including Japan, China, and Korea. We reserve large amount of these so-called intangible property. These in name of dollar. We all became the big owner of American treasury bonds. Top 1 is China, top 2 is Japan, top 3 South Korea, and the top 4 Chinese Taiwan. We help to maintain the dollar value. We help to make Americans have so expensive life. We help them to enjoy whatever they have, even enjoy their big military power. That is what we have done from 1970s. Now we need to change because big change come from Korea. If you can reunify, if you are already a one nationality country, you don't need to separate. So if you can reunify, I think that's a big chance for the whole Eurasian continent. You can already look at this red line. That is industrialization. we got the facilities, the low-tech industries from Japan in this area, in coastal China and whatever. Now, when you have a reunification, you can have a kind of real ecological zone from South Korea up to North Korea and down up to the northeast China and then Siberia and then cross Siberia. That is all this area is a rich natural resources, also rich ecological resources. So this area not industrialized. So we can regain the ecozone and then cross the continent. And then you may think about, you can imagine that we may go down to the Africa. So that is 3 continents, continental. That will be a new era for the human beings. So that is why I'm very much emphasize the change. We do have the chance for ourselves to change to a new era. That is ecological civilization. Okay, so I will move faster to tell us what is the problem. The problem is that the whole global crisis has come from the colonization and also come from the modernization. What is modernization? Can you give me a very clear answer? What is modernization? It's a concept. Come from the ideology. Some people give the explanation. They said modernization have a 2 stream. One is industrialization, another is urbanization. But if you go to do the research in this urbanized country, you may find if the urbanized population more than 80% to 90%, you may have no hope. Think about that. So whenever I give my suggestions to these big capital, and they owe a lot of money, they want to ask me where I can use the money. I said, just go back to your home village. If you do have home village, help the local, your focus, to have a local construction. And then give yourself, give your family a base to survive when you facing the challenge of the financial crisis. The same, here, I think Korean people, you all have your home village. Nowadays, you are middle class. Do something in your home village. Try to make your focus, your relatives, have a better life. And then you and your family also can have a better life. When you all falling into the crisis. The crisis is not who want to have or not want. Not your viewing. It's very objective because nobody want to take the cost. Only want to gain the interest. So when you take the returns, you throw out the cost. Finally, that will be the big crisis happening in the world. So when we talk about these Western countries, yeah, sorry that there's some Western friends. When they are oriental countries, we take these Western countries as references, we think that it's a modernization. It's a political crisis. Nobody gave any criticize. We need to have a reflection to know that it's such kind of model always created big bubble and then turn to the crisis. So we need to think about another way. So that is another way is possible. We need to have alternatives. Okay, so China do the restructuring, readjustments since the late 1990s until now. When they started to do the investments in Western China, Northeast China, Mid China, and rural China, they found that we need to set up a new direction. That is an ecological civilization. Chinese central leader set this as a new direction. We need to transit towards a new direction. That is the year 2007, 11 years from now. It's 2007. By the 17th Party Congress. And in the year 2012, the new leadership, President Xi Jinping, when he took power, he very strong to recommend the whole party, the whole government we need to transit to ecological civilization. That is a national strategy. So originally we have a thought in 2007, and then 2012, this thought to be the strategy. Now they are trying to change the whole of this big country from the industrialized civilization into ecological civilization. But it's very difficult because China started the industrialization since the year 1870s. Means more than 100 years. We are trying to gain the industrialization. And these 100 years, we have a lot of different interest groups. Industries, financial capitals, they are all the interest groups. They are very much strong impact the central policies. You cannot neglect these interest groups. The same in the world. So when you want to change, you need to step by step, not very radical. So that China very clear to indicate China need to transit into ecological civilization, but not so easy. We may need several decades. Means that we need 100 years to set up the industry, and then we need another several decades to transit to another new era. Okay, so that is a different policies. And we all know that because of the different conditions. China is not America. I think of Korea, also not UK. You all know there's a very beautiful movie. It's Titanic. Titanic gave you a story about love. But love happened between girl and boy. Who is that boy? You may know that Living. But he is the representative of the poor people. So Titanic means that the content, more than 10,000 poor people from Europe moved to America. So if you just put this story, love story aside, think about what is the truth. Means a large number of people move out. And that is happening in Ireland. So Ireland, inside, average 5 million. Outside, overseas average 15 million. 10 times. That is colonization. How much overseas Korean? 10 times? Less than 10%. So you are Asian, you are indigenous. You are not colonial others. You are not colonized others. So the whole Asia is indigenous continent. Do you think indigenous continent, you have a big population, can you duplicate colonized continent? We are so-called professor. What is our knowledge come from? From colonized area, from colonized country. They duplicate their textbook. They got their degrees. They were PhD, and then they said, okay, I'm from Columbia University, I'm from Harvard University, whatever. But you knowledge is not your own local knowledge. So when you talk about transition to ecological civilization, you need to know what is local knowledge, what is indigenous culture, what is ourselves. And then we may know what is ecological civilization. So when we talk about American agriculture, that is agriculture, that's industries, that is business. When you come back to Korea, do you have such kind of big farm system? No, we don't have. So that is the problem. So let's just finish. 3 minutes? Yeah, okay. I can finish this. I just want to nowadays what is the China situation. We have several times to distribute equally land to the families in rural. So means that our low levels, low class, they are scattered PD bourgeoisie. It's a population 6%. That is why China can stabilize the low class. They have no extremely poor. That is same in East Asian area. Korea also. you have no extremely poor in countryside. Japan also. And the Chinese Taiwan, no extremely poor in countryside. And Vietnam. So this area, they have a traditional philosophy, or Taoism, or Confucianism, or Buddhism, and so and so. Like the 19th century, here you have a so-called Dongxue, I don't know how to translate into. But anyway, it's a multi-philosophies from Taoism, from Confucianism, and also from Buddhism. It's Asian Buddhism. So we have a low class, but historically, we always have a low class. It's not extremely poor, they live in community. So the community, the commune in Asia, especially in East Asia, is historical events. Nowadays, we need to regenerate our commune because we lost too much. And then to strengthen our low class. And then the middle class, okay, emerge. Now China is the biggest middle class country. We have 500 million. 500 million means we have a 2 times bigger middle class than Europe. Maybe also than the United States. So we can change this middle class consumption from westernized into orientalized. So that is very different. If the whole middle class and the low class can turn to the green, so the green in China will be reality. Okay, and then the problem is that how to recognize, how to acknowledge is a big capital. In China, it's historically politicized, means that controlled by state. Our big bank, 80% of the capital come from the central bank. So they are state-run bank. Now all became the top 4. So SABC, ABC, and CBC, and Bank of China all became the top 4. So it means that the top 4 means they control the big capital, now politicized. So we can use this capital, financial capital, not for financial capital itself. Financial capital in China cannot be independent. Just for themselves, no. So that is the structure. Means that China still have some chance to control financial capital, not like neoliberalism. Not make big bubble. Yeah, they make big bubble. But they are trying to, I think that now trying to change, to pull them back, okay, for the ecological civilization. We do have a chance, that's because of the financial capital not independent. That is also 2 days ago, when we have sit together to talk about, and then John Paul, I think that he is very smart to indicate that the problem is that the financial capital make the whole of the country, the political regime, serve the financial capital, including of the military power, all serve the financial capital. I think that he indicated such kind of essential in the United States. That is the problem of the war, threats of the war. Okay, just go back. And then when we large investments into the physical instruction, into the infrastructure construction in countryside, in rural, means that our physical properties enlarge. It's bigger and bigger. It's nowadays 500 trillion. Think about that. It's a big number of the physical properties. And then based on that, China have a 200 trillion, they have a 500 trillion physical properties, and then have a 200 trillion financial assets. And then think about the debts. Debts will be very smaller because the base, the total of this volume base is bigger. So that means you can prevent your economy from the financial crisis. That is nowadays the real situation. Okay, I have to stop here. If you do want to hear, maybe sometimes later. Thank you.
중국의 앞으로 여러 문명이 지구 환경 생태를 결정한다고 해서 많이 하거든요. 그리고 원교수님께서 지금 농촌 지역과 공동체 그리고 아시아적 가치 이런 것들을 다 새로운 형태의 모델을 제시해 주셨습니다. 학교에 왔습니다. 성장과가 그리고 학회 혹은 지나친 과잉 소비 중식의 문명과 다른 에콜로지컬 시빌라이제이션 그것을 제시해 주신 교수님께 감사드리고 시간이 충분하다면 5시간이고 10시간이고 이 주제에 충분히 논의를 좀 하고 싶기도 하고 또 제 자신이 사회학자로서 상당히 하는 질문이 있습니다만 시간이 이렇게 지나버렸습니다. 이거 원래는 10시간 하고 20분